the aggregate just like demand. It's everything added together, and that's what we're going to take a look at. So if you can look at supply there, I got Superman, all the good deeds he does. If we add the whole Justice League together, that would be aggregate supply. And that's what we're going to take a look at and how everything works here. Okay, so aggregate supply. We're actually going to have two supply lines. Now, today we're only going to deal with one supply line, not the second one. We'll save the second supply line for next week when we start to put everything together on the final graph. But today we'll deal with our normal supply line, which looks just like the one did in our second unit here. Okay, so this one's the same definition as all. It's the amount of goods and services that firms are willing to produce at different price levels. Pretty much the same one, except instead of looking at one firm in an industry, we're looking at all the firms in the industry. Okay, um, you're gonna see right here, a lot of times they'll label it as S. Oh, let me write here. You'll see this as SRAS. If you see that, you might also just see it related to AS. That is fine. What we're going to deal with today is what's called short run aggregate supply. There's a difference between long run and short run. We're just going to deal with short run aggregate supply. So if you see the SR, that's all it's saying is short run. A lot of times you'll just see it labeled as aggregate supply. Okay, our long run will be LRAS, our long run aggregate supply, and that one will always be labeled LRAS. That one's no shortcut. So this one, usually you'll see as AS, but if you ever see SRAS, don't flip out. It just means short run, and just kind of draw your AS graph. So for me, I will let go of the SR. You won't see it, the short run, but a lot of times worksheets or maybe a question on College Board will ask you what is the short run in that particular case, and you should just realize it's the aggregate supply that we normally cover. Okay, so how does it look like? It looks like that right there, which is very similar to Unit 2. So again, if you see SRAS right here, it's the same exact thing. No tricks on how it actually looks. Let me clear this up real quick as we go through. Okay, this is the production of every type of good from every firm in the economy. Okay. Now, what are our shifters here? Okay, the easiest way to remember this is grip. We got Aerosmith's 11 studio album right there. See the cow's udders pierced. I know it's disgusting, but that's good because that means it'll stick in your memory. So that's why we're going to use it. Their album was called Get a Grip. So just think of grip. Anytime you want to see the shifters of aggregate supply, there it is, grip. Think about it, okay? And think about that picture right there. It'll help you out. Now, what are they? Okay, aggregate supply is going to shift the same as it does in our second unit. So remember, a shift to the left is a decrease. This is a decrease. A shift to the right is an increase. So those rules still apply here as well too. So it's exactly the same. Remember, we're labeling this price level. We're labeling this real GDP. Okay, and then this is my AS right here. So it shifts to the left or to the right. Okay. So let's deal with each of these ones here. And I think this is probably the hardest one because we get a little confused with other actions here. It's like government spending. Don't you consider that a government action? No, that's a specific type of thing that they do. Remember, government spending is a demand shifter. But when we talk about government actions, this is pretty much everything else besides spending. Okay. Spending and taxes, that's a demand shifter. When we talk about government actions, this is everything else. So what if, for example, I said there was no rules on pollution? Okay, no rules on pollution. Go ahead, pollute to your heart's desire. Okay. A lot of companies would increase their production. They would produce a whole lot more than they currently would, but they would be inefficient and sloppy, and they wouldn't really care about doing a good job. A lot of these jobs now, there's so many. So for example, if you want to build a factory, you have to get an environmental impact first. So if I look at this land, right, I want to build a big factory. First thing you got to do is run an environmental impact study. So you got to spend a couple $100,000 hiring like AQMD over there, air quality management. And what they'll do is they'll run an impact study and say, if you put this factory here, here's how many animals you're displacing. Here's how much pollution you're going to make. Here's how much it's going to cost for you to recycle, blah, 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 blah. Okay. If I got rid of those, that's 100,000 I save right there already. Just build it. Who cares? Who cares if a bald eagle lives on there? Okay, just build it. So these are government regulations, and that's what we're looking at. That's probably the easiest one to take a look at for our government actions. If we make regulations harder, less businesses will do it. Okay, that'll change our supply. If we decrease the regulations, more businesses will do it, and that'll be easier. Next one is our resource price. This is the same thing as our input price, except now we're dealing with all our resources here. Sorry, taking something right there. Okay, so if our resources get really expensive, right? Just like in our last one, that means we have to produce less because we'll have to pass that price on to consumers. And if resources get really cheap, well, hey, we can produce a lot more at a lower price now. So this is very similar to our unit 2. Okay, inflationary expectations here. This is probably our complex one. So how does this actually work? Okay. And this one's going to be important. So we need to understand this one here and what it's talking about. Let's say you know inflation is going up. So you have a current job, right? And you know, let's say prices are going to double. Okay. What should you do? Some of you might say your first reaction is to quit and look for a new job. Okay, that's nice, but you don't have to go that drastic. What if you like your job? What if you are just starting out and you don't have the technical skills to jump, but you know your job is a necessity? Okay, but you do know prices are double. What should you always do? You should ask for a raise. Okay, take teachers, for example. If you ever looked at the teacher scale, which is probably not, we get paid each year a little bit more, and that payment is supposed to be about a percentage or two higher than inflation. So our salary adjusts with inflation. And you should do the same thing. Never be shy to ask for an increase. Oh, it's probably washed up here. Okay, as I was saying, never be afraid to ask for a raise. If inflation is eating away your salary, don't get stuck on the same salary for 5, 6 years. Okay, ask for a raise. Okay, ask for a raise in that particular case. Keep your salary up with inflation as it goes through. And also, don't accept anything less than inflation either. If inflation is 3% and they say, hey, how about we give you a 2% increase every year? I mean, that's kind of nice, but in the long run, they're cheating you money. So make sure this will be a big one. We'll see how it works out. But when inflation goes up, you should be asking for a salary increase. And we'll see how that affects everything when we put our graph together. Our last one is productivity. Okay, going back to our last worksheet there, I think Landon asked a very good question. But productivity, if you pay for it, like you pay for new robots or you pay for training, that would be an AD shifter. But in this particular case, just if you guys get better at it, or we get like I think this is a good one down here, the birth rate. What if all of a sudden every woman gets pregnant in the United States and we double our population? Well, guess what? That's a huge number we can put to the workforce there, okay? Or what if we have a computer virus that destroys all our computers so there's no more computers? Well, then guess what? Our productivity is going to plummet. But these are all supply shifters, not demand shifters, okay? So remember GRIP, the other one is CIG, right? Which is GDP. So it's much easier to see the shifts as they go through here. Okay, so that